T140. This is your professor, Derek Taylor, um, giving you an overview of the of your assignments for this week. Just want to remind you before I do, I have sent you an email detailing you, giving you some feedback on last week's assignments, and going over some other details for you in terms of the course and everything. Most people did pretty well the first week, looking at the discussions forums, and the quizzes. The grades did pretty well. I also remind you that you do need to turn in the weekly responses. Those are connected to the essays you're going to write. For the midterm would be a midterm essay and then a final essay. And you're going to need to cite from the notes you're taking with those responses, answering those questions each week on a source. So just a reminder about that, and the grades have been posted for last week, so you can go take a look at that for yourself. But do check your email weekly if you would. That's how I'll communicate with you as a class as well. And so we come to the second week of the course, and the first week we talked about the first chapter in the textbook and the major problems with the first encounters between peoples in North America and the European settlers, and become the ancestors to modern Americans, the beginnings of the slave trade, all those sorts of things. Last week you got in the readings, both the textbook and the source reader. This week, the chapter in the America textbook is called Colonial Experiments. And so what you're getting, the background there is an overview of the various different types of colonies that European powers like Spain, France, but of course England, which is sort of the ancestor of the United States, politically and legally speaking. Different types of colonies, plantation colonies that are meant to sort of grow certain crops, tobacco, sugar, stuff like that, which the English will have both in North America, but also in the Caribbean. One thing you'll learn in this chapter is that its Caribbean colonies are just as important, if not more, than the colonies that will, precede the United States, basically. They make a lot of money off of things like sugar, so you'll learn about that. Also the different powers, and it's usually Spain and France, the two biggest rivals that England has in the 17th century. That's most of what your textbook's going to focus on. The Dutch are also rivals. The Kingdom of the Republic of the Netherlands in the 17th century are also rivals as well. But for the most part, Spain and then France are the major rivals in North America. Again, you'll see all this, and you'll also see, of course, how the native peoples of North America respond to this challenge, because you have European powers, especially the English, founding what your textbook will call Neo-European colonies. And as the name implies, it means societies which reproduce, colonies which reproduce the European societies from which they came. They're going to put down roots and stay, not just trade, not just come and take slaves away as they did in Africa, but actually build and take over land. And what's going to happen, of course, is going to be resistance. And there are a couple of major wars in 17th century North America between the English and different Indian tribes. One in Virginia called Bacon's Rebellion in the 1676. In the same year, basically, there's also a war in New England called King Philip's War. And so there's a major thing that will take place at the end of the chapter. And so that's an overview you get from the first colonial encounters, interactions, the conquest, this week with the growth of England, because we're going to start narrowing our focus on England, which will become, by the way, Great Britain. Actually, the technical name going into the 1700s will be the United Kingdom of England, Scotland, and Ireland, which we call Great Britain for short. But England will sort of join itself to those other countries with its monarchy as we move forward. We call it Britain, but connected polities, connected institutions is my only point. And so you also have, that's the preview of the chapter, the major source book is going to give you a slice of sources from, most part, English colonies in the 1600s, 17th century. And you're going to get a variety of interesting perspectives in those sources, from a slave woman, an indentured servant. You'll learn the difference, by the way, between indentured servitude and slavery. They're different things in the 17th century. Also women as well. You get an excerpt from a poem by Anne Bradstreet. You'll also, kind of going along with the textbook chapter, get different sources from different colonies, from plantation colonies, from the New England colonies, from Massachusetts Bay Colony, John Winthrop's sermon about the Massachusetts Bay Company, founded by Puritans. That's the one colony that was founded for explicitly religious reasons in early British North America, and you'll see that famous passage there. As well as a very interesting description of life in Barbados, which was an English colony in the 17th century, describing how they make sugarcane, and how to make sugar from sugarcane, I should say, which becomes a major source of wealth for the English and their empire, a real major hub for their empire later on, which again connects with North America. They send some of that stuff to North America and then back to England. They also, of course, have to import slaves to work on these plantations, and we'll talk about it. It's kind of some of these primary sources are hard to read, I know, but they're kind of a little tedious, but they're very factual, good stuff that will give you a good background on this stuff, especially, and this is, we'll get to this, I'll talk one last thing in a moment. The secondary source I assigned for this week is called The Indian's New World by James Merrill, a modern historian. Kind of opposite of the first essay you read the first week, which talked about the Indians' old world, what their lives were like preceding European settlement there. This essay deals with how Indians responded to the encroachment of Europeans on their territory, specifically the British, because that's what we're focusing on how they adapted to these neo-European colonies, which were meant to sort of, push them out, basically, and how they adapt, how they fit themselves into European trade networks, and how that alters their society as well, of course, it will alter the societies of these European colonists as well. So that's what you get with the secondary essay there. And so you'll see for this week, we're going to see all this begin to develop. And this is what kind of leads me into the last part I want to talk about here, the overview, is how you're going to have a new society emerging out of this. It takes a long time because there's still people come over there, they think of themselves for centuries as being Englishmen. They do, by the way, right up until the American Revolution, do most English colonists. They don't think of themselves as being Americans. But you have these interactions, and again, a lot of them are violent, a lot of them are not just in some ways. Others are more innocuous, right? And they're more just trading and everything. But over time, you're going to have the creation of a different sort of society. And that's what you should be thinking about as you read these texts, as you discuss them in the discussion forums, and also as you write the responses. This is very important. Try to select a source that you think might help you answer the midterm essay question, which has to do about long-term developments. And by long-term, I mean going back to the beginnings of, from the first chapter, up to, you'll see, read the essay, by the time you get to the 1800s, we're still in the 1600s here, about how all these long-term developments feed into an American national identity, how these new elements come together to form a distinct and separate and unique, more or less unique, not totally unique, American national identity in the 1800s. Because that'll give you a clue as to what to write down, what kind of notes to take. You're going to use that source later on to sort of write your essay. So to give you an idea of already how you want to shape your answer. That'll change a little bit over time as you read more and get to know more. But it'll give you a good baseline for, what should I talk about when I read this stuff? What should I write a response on? This will give you an idea that, and there's a lot of good stuff in these first few chapters that should give you an entryway into that. Because one of the things, of course, that makes America unique is the mixture of all these different civilizations, African, several European countries, as well as native Indian tribes, which are all different themselves. They have differences amongst themselves. So you should be thinking in those terms, actually going along and reading these sources especially, and getting the background from the textbook as well. And so that is, those are the assignments for this week. And remember the quiz as well, of course, at the end of the week. And so wish you guys good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. I tried, by the way, most of you did email me with questions. I got back to you as soon as I could. Hopefully I'm doing well with that this semester. I'm trying to be more responsive. And let me know if there are any other questions, things you need to clarify. And I hope you guys have a good week of reading and getting into discussion. Thanks.